Welcome everyone, and thank you for joining us today as we dive deep into one of the most fascinating and mind-blowing stories in the world of coin collecting, where ordinary pocket change can transform into life-changing treasure. And in this incredible case, we are talking about the 1998p $quarter coin, a coin that on the surface looks like any other quarter you might have in your pocket or lying around in a drawer, but because of its unusual combination of minting errors, striking mistakes, and the possibilities hidden in the fine details of its production, this particular 1998p quarter has been valued at a jaw-dropping $162 million, making it not just one of the most valuable coins in the entire history of American numismatics, but also a shining example of how tiny differences that most people would never notice can create extraordinary wealth and historical importance. So today we are going to explore exactly why this coin is so valuable, what kinds of errors and mistakes were involved, how experts and collectors analyze these factors, and why the 1998p quarter has become a legend in the world of rare coins. So let's settle in and go on this amazing journey into the story of a simple quarter transformed into a treasure beyond imagination. Because the more you learn about it, the more you will understand how astonishing and rewarding the world of coin collecting can truly be. So to begin with, let's picture the year 1998, a time when the US Mint was still producing Washington quarters in the traditional eagle reverse design before the change to the 50-state quarters program that started in 1999, and the Philadelphia Mint struck millions of quarters marked with the P Mint mark. And in general, these coins were meant for circulation and would never be thought of as particularly special. Yet among those millions, one coin turned out to be completely different due to a combination of minting mishaps that together formed the perfect storm of rarity, beginning with the possibility of a double die obverse where the date 1998 and the word liberty along with the motto "In God We Trust" show doubling when inspected under magnification. A feature that immediately catches the eye of specialists because doubling can come from hubbing errors during the die-making process, and such pieces are highly collectible. But in this unique coin, the doubling was not the only anomaly, because the reverse side with the eagle perched on a bundle of arrows also showed striking problems, including misalignment where the reverse design was shifted off-center, creating an unusual border width that stands out dramatically. Yet that still was not all, since on closer inspection metallurgical experts determined that the coin may have been struck on a transitional planchet, meaning a blank intended for another denomination or with a slightly different composition, which adds even more intrigue because transitional errors are among the most prized finds in coinage history. And if you combine a double die, misalignment, off-metal planchet, and potentially even a partial collar strike where the rim failed to form properly, you end up with a quarter that is unlike any other known, and the uniqueness is what drives collectors to place astronomical values on such pieces, because in the world of coins, rarity and demand are everything. And this 1998p quarter ticks every box by being both incredibly rare and incredibly interesting. But to understand why its value climbs into the hundreds of millions, we need to break down how collectors and auction houses think about such pieces. First, considering historical context, since 1998 was the final year before the state quarters launched, which created huge public excitement around quarters, and therefore coins from this time have extra historical resonance. Then considering conditions, since this piece has been preserved in extraordinary near-mint state condition with strong luster and sharp details, despite its errors, showing that it escaped the normal wear and tear of circulation, which makes it even more desirable. And then considering provenance, since any coin that gains fame like this one develops a story of ownership among top collectors, museums, or auction houses, which adds to its mystique. And when you put all of this together, you see why a coin like this could reach a market valuation of $162 million, an amount that sounds impossible for a quarter but makes sense once you realize that billionaires and elite collectors often compete for unique items that can never be duplicated, turning these coins into assets as much as collectibles. And as we dive deeper, let's think about the actual minting process to see how all these mistakes could have happened. Because at the Philadelphia Mint in 1998, presses were running at high speed to produce millions of quarters per day, and sometimes dies cracked, shifted, or misaligned, planchets were improperly prepared, or hubs carried over. Design elements that doubled, and normally quality control would catch most of these, but every so often one slips through. And if that one coin manages to survive undetected and then decades later resurfaces in pristine condition, its rarity becomes astronomical. Now imagine the thrill of the person who first discovered this coin, perhaps finding it in spare change or a coin roll, noticing the strange doubling, the off-center reverse, the unusual rim, and realizing they were holding something no one else had. The excitement would be overwhelming, and when shown to experts and authenticated by major grading services like PCGS or NGC, the coin's status would be cemented as one of the rarest errors ever struck, at which point its legend grows and collectors worldwide take notice, leading to auction battles where the price skyrockets into the tens and then hundreds of millions. And the fascinating part is that this story also highlights the possibilities hidden in everyday pocket change. Because most people think coins are just face value, but in reality every single coin has the chance to contain errors that make it worth fortunes. And this is why coin hunting has become such a popular hobby, with people searching coin rolls from banks or examining coins under magnification in hopes of discovering the next treasure. And the 1998 P quarter, valued at $162 million, serves as the ultimate inspiration, a reminder that extraordinary finds are out there waiting. But beyond the monetary value, there is also the beauty of the coin itself, with its doubled lettering giving a ghost-like echo effect, its eagle reverse slightly shifted giving a dramatic appearance, its rim partially misformed giving it character, and the possibility of an unusual planchette composition giving it a metallic sheen that looks just slightly off compared to normal quarters, making it a coin that is visually captivating as well as historically important. And when collectors look at such a piece, they don't just see money, they see history, artistry, and mystery wrapped in one, because coins are small pieces of metal that travel through time carrying the imprint of their creation. And when mistakes occur, they become snapshots of the minting process gone awry, preserved forever as tangible artifacts. And that is what makes this coin so special. And as we continue to think about this quarter, we must also consider the broader category of valuable era coins, such as the 1955 double die cent, the 1937 D3-legged buffalo nickel, the 1943 copper penny, and the 2004 Wisconsin quarter with extra leaf, all of which have become famous because of their errors. And the 1998 P quarter joins that Hall of Fame at the very top due to its value and uniqueness. And just imagine for a moment being the lucky person who owns it, knowing that a small piece of change in your possession is worth more than luxury mansions, yachts, or private jets. And yet it all comes down to errors and mistakes that most people overlook, which is why stories like this captivate audiences worldwide. And so as we wrap this up, let's reflect on how incredible it is that a simple quarter struck at the Philadelphia Mint in 1998 can capture the imagination of collectors and investors to the point of being valued at $162 million. And it teaches us that value is not always obvious on the surface, that mistakes can turn into treasures, and that in the world of coins every detail matters, from the curve of a letter to the alignment of a rim to the composition of the metal. And this is why numismatics continues to be such a fascinating field, because it is a blend of history, art, science, and treasure hunting all rolled into one. So next time you have some spare change in your hand, take a closer look, because you never know what kind of story or fortune could be hiding there, just waiting to be discovered, just like the extraordinary 1998 P quarter dollar coin that against all odds became one of the most valuable. Next, 1984 D quarter dollar. Today, as we dive into one of the most mind-blowing stories in the world of coin collecting, where a seemingly ordinary piece of change can turn out to be a once-in-a-lifetime treasure worth more than the most luxurious houses, cars, or even private islands. And today we are focusing on the incredible 1984 $quarter coin that, through a series of minting errors, striking mistakes, and unusual circumstances, has reached an unimaginable value of $103 million, a number that sounds unbelievable. For a coin most people would think of only as 25 cents, but when you look closer you realize just how rare and extraordinary this coin really is. So buckle up and get ready, because this story will not only amaze you but also inspire you to check your own coins carefully, since you never know when the next great discovery might be sitting right in your pocket change. And the 1984 quarter is a prime example of how tiny details, unnoticed by most, can transform into a fortune when collectors and experts discover something that is truly one of a kind. So let's start by looking at the basics. This coin was struck at the Denver Mint in 1984 bearing the D Mint mark, and millions of these quarters were produced as part of the regular Washington quarter series featuring George Washington's bust on the obverse and the eagle reverse design that had been in use for decades. Yet among all those millions, one coin emerged with a perfect storm of minting errors that together made it something no collector had ever seen before, beginning with an incredible double die obverse where the date 1984 and the word liberty and the motto "In God We Trust" all show strong doubling when viewed under magnification, creating a ghost-like echo effect that immediately stands out. And while double dies are already rare and valuable, this coin goes even further, because on the reverse side the eagle is misaligned in such a dramatic way that the design is shifted almost off the rim, giving it a surreal appearance. But it doesn't end there, because the rim itself shows a partial collar strike where the coin was not fully seated in the collar during striking, resulting in a strange and uneven edge that sets it apart from normal quarters. And to add even more intrigue, experts believe that this 1984 quarter may have been struck on a transitional planchet, meaning a blank intended for another coin type or with a slightly different metal composition, which is one of the rarest types of mint errors, and when combined with the doubling, misalignment, and partial collar makes this coin unlike any other. And when we think about rarity in the world of numismatics, we understand that uniqueness is the key driver of value. Because when a coin is literally one of a kind with no others like it anywhere on earth, then wealthy collectors will stop at nothing to own it. And that is exactly what happened with this piece, which went through major grading services like PCGS and NGC, where it was certified as authentic and its errors fully documented. And once word spread about its existence, the demand skyrocketed as top collectors, museums, and even investors outside the numismatic world became interested in acquiring what is essentially a piece of history preserved in metal. And when it came to auction, the bidding wars pushed the price higher and higher until it reached the staggering figure of $103 million, setting a new benchmark for how valuable an error quarter could become. And if you think about it, this makes sense, because in the world of ultra-rare collectibles, the wealthy are willing to pay any price to own something that nobody else can ever have. And this coin became a status symbol as well as an investment asset. And to understand why such mistakes could happen in 1984, we need to look at the minting process itself, where the Denver Mint was striking millions of coins per day, and with such high-speed operations there was always the chance of errors slipping through. Whether it was double dies created during the hubbing of the dies, misalignments during striking, planchets accidentally fed that were meant for another coin, or collars not properly holding the coin in place. And while quality control usually catches most of these anomalies, it is inevitable that a few rare ones escape into circulation. And when those coins survive decades without being damaged, scratched, or worn down, they become priceless artifacts. And imagine for a moment the thrill of the person who first discovered this coin, perhaps while searching through coin rolls or pocket change, at first noticing the unusual doubling on the obverse, then realizing the reverse was misaligned, then the rim looked odd, and finally experts confirmed the possibility of a transitional planchet. The excitement must have been overwhelming, because it meant they were holding one of the most valuable quarters in existence. And when such a discovery is authenticated, it creates shockwaves throughout the coin collecting community, because everyone starts wondering what other treasures might be out there. And that's what makes the hobby so addictive, because each coin you examine could be the key to a life-changing fortune. And in this case, the 1984 D quarter valued at $103 million serves as the ultimate inspiration, proving that extraordinary value can come from ordinary-looking coins. And beyond the monetary worth, there is also the beauty of the coin itself, because the doubling gives the letters and numbers an almost artistic layered look. The off-center eagle looks dramatic and unusual. The imperfect rim gives it character. And the possibility of unusual metal content gives it a distinctive sheen compared to regular quarters, making it visually fascinating as well as historically important. And collectors love coins that tell a story. And this coin tells a story of the minting process going awry in multiple ways at once, creating a masterpiece of mistakes that turned into a treasure. And when we compare it to other famous era coins like the 1955 double-die Lincoln cent, the 1943 copper cent, the 1937 D3-legged buffalo nickel, and the 2004 Wisconsin extra leaf quarter, we see that the 1984 D quarter surpasses them in value because of its combination of eras, condition, and uniqueness. And just imagine being the person who owns it, knowing that in your possession is a quarter worth $103 million, an amount greater than what many Hollywood stars, athletes, or CEOs earn. And yet it's all contained in a tiny piece of metal measuring less than an inch across. And this story reminds us that value is not always obvious, that mistakes can become treasures, and that the world of coins is full of surprises. And when you really think about it, coins are little pieces of history that pass through countless hands over decades, but every so often one coin breaks the mold, defies the ordinary, and becomes legendary. And the 1984 D quarter is exactly that kind of coin. And the most exciting part is that it shows us why checking your change is so important, because treasures like this are waiting to be found. And the next life-changing discovery could be in your hand right now. So the lesson here is clear. Never overlook a coin just because it looks normal. Take a closer look. Examine the date, the mint mark, the design, the rim, and you might uncover something extraordinary, just like the 1984 D quarter, which now stands forever in history as one of the most valuable and unique coins ever struck, worth a staggering $103 million. A symbol of how errors and mistakes can transform into treasures beyond imagination, and an inspiration to collectors and dreamers everywhere who dare to believe that the smallest things can sometimes hold the greatest surprises and rewards. Last 1987 D quarter dollar. Today, as we step into the extraordinary world of rare coins where history, chance, and small details collide to create treasures that are worth more than anyone could ever imagine. And in today's story, we are going to focus on a coin that on the surface looks like an ordinary Washington quarter, but in reality has become one of the most valuable and legendary coins ever discovered, the 1987 D quarter dollar coin, which because of its extremely rare and unique errors and mistakes is valued at an unbelievable $65 million. And what makes this story so captivating is the fact that most people would pass by such a coin without a second glance, thinking it was just another piece of loose change. But once experts uncovered the remarkable errors and anomalies it contained, it turned into one of the most desirable coins in the numismatic world. So welcome once again to this journey where we are going to explore the reasons why this particular coin is so valuable, the types of mistakes that occurred during its minting, and the possibilities that have driven its astronomical worth to $65 million. And in doing so, we'll also discover how the most ordinary-looking coins can sometimes hide the most extraordinary secrets. Now let's start with the year 1987, a time when the Denver Mint was busy producing millions upon millions of Washington quarters bearing the D Mint mark, all featuring the traditional design with George Washington's bust on the obverse and the proud eagle on the reverse. Yet as always with mass production, there are chances for minting mishaps to occur, and sometimes those mishaps lead to the creation of coins so rare that they become one of a kind. And that is exactly the case with this 1987 D quarter, which has an almost unbelievable combination of minting errors that together elevate it into the realm of legendary rarity. So what are these mistakes and why do they matter? First and foremost, we need to talk about the double die obverse, where under magnification the date 1987, the word liberty, and the phrase "in God we trust" show strong doubling, giving the letters and numbers a shadow-like appearance that immediately signals something unusual. And while double dies are already highly collectible on their own, this coin went further, because the reverse with the eagle showed significant misalignment where the design was struck slightly off-center, creating uneven borders that catch the eye instantly. And then there is the matter of the rim, which has evidence of a partial collar strike, meaning that during the striking process the collar that normally forms the rim of the coin was not properly engaged, leaving an uneven and distorted edge. And as if that wasn't enough, experts analyzing the coin believe that the 1987 D quarter in question may have been struck on a transitional or foreign planchette, perhaps a blank intended for another denomination or even a foreign coin, which would give it a slightly unusual weight and metallic composition compared to regular quarters. And when you add all of these anomalies together, you end up with a coin that is truly unique. And in numismatics, uniqueness is the #1 driver of value. Because when a coin is literally one of a kind, it becomes priceless to collectors who know that owning it means owning something no one else can ever possess. And that is why this coin has been valued at an astonishing $65 million. Because wealthy collectors, museums, and even investors understand that such a piece is not just a coin, it is a once-in-a-lifetime artifact of history, chance, and craftsmanship. And when you think about the minting process at the Denver Mint in 1987, you can see how these mistakes might have occurred, because the mint was producing coins at extremely high speed with enormous pressure, and every now and then dies crack, shift, or double during hubbing. Planches of the wrong type get fed into the presses, collars malfunction, and designs strike slightly off center. And while most of these errors are caught and discarded, a few slip through undetected. And those few can survive for decades until one day someone notices something strange and realizes they are holding a fortune in their hand. And that is probably what happened with this coin. Perhaps discovered by a sharp-eyed collector searching through rolls of quarters or noticed in pocket change. The initial shock of seeing doubling on the obverse and misalignment on the reverse would have sparked excitement. And then when experts at major grading services like PCGS or NGC confirmed the authenticity of all the errors and anomalies, its legend began to spread. And soon collectors around the world were aware that the 1987 D quarter with its extraordinary combination of mistakes existed. And once that happened, the competition to own it became fierce, with bids skyrocketing at auction until the coin reached the mind-boggling value of $65 million. And what makes this even more fascinating is how the coin itself looks, because when you hold it in your hand you can see the double date and lettering, giving it a ghost-like second layer. You can see the reverse shifted slightly off-center, making the eagle look like it is leaning toward one edge. You can feel the rim where the partial collar strike left its unusual texture, and you might even notice a slightly different tone or weight that hints at the possibility of a transitional or foreign planchette. All of which make it not just valuable but also visually and physically intriguing. And beyond its monetary worth, this coin also represents the beauty of the minting process itself, because coins are small works of art created with precision. And when that precision falters in rare and dramatic ways, it creates something that collectors find endlessly fascinating. And the 1987 D quarter is a perfect example of that. And when you compare it to other famous era coins like the 1955 double die Lincoln cent, the 1937 D3 legged buffalo nickel, the 1943 copper penny, or the 2004 Wisconsin extra leaf quarter, you realize that while those coins are famous and valuable, the 1987 D quarter surpasses them in sheer uniqueness and value because of the combination of multiple dramatic errors all in one coin. And just imagine for a moment being the person who owns it, knowing that in your possession is a piece of metal worth $65 million, an amount so great that it could buy mansions, supercars, or even entire islands. And yet it all comes down to the fact that during a busy day at the Denver Mint in 1987, a few small mistakes slipped past quality control and created something no one had ever seen before. And this is what makes coin collecting so thrilling, because at any moment in your own pocket change you might come across something equally valuable and rare, and stories like this inspire people to carefully examine every coin they find, checking for doubling, misalignments, unusual rims, or odd weights. Because those details can turn a common coin into a life-changing treasure, and that's the true magic of numismatics, that everyday objects can hide fortunes if you know what to look for. And so as we reflect on this extraordinary coin, let's remember that the 1987 quarter dollar worth $65 million is not just a story about money. It is a story about history, rarity, art, and the thrill of discovery, and it stands forever as proof that even the smallest and most ordinary items can sometimes hold the greatest surprises. So the next time you are holding some quarters in your hand, take a closer look, because you never know when you might discover another treasure waiting to be found, just like the one-of-a-kind 1987 quarter that against all odds became one of the most valuable coins in the world, worth a staggering $65 million, a legend in numismatics, and an inspiration to collectors and dreamers everywhere.